Hey y'all, I'm James Wright. Welcome to my shop. What happens if you take your best half-inch chisel and you drop it on concrete? For those of you who can't believe I did that, this is my Nerex Richter and concrete! And this one is now all garred up. Not terribly happy, but let's fix it. Now most people, including my good friend Rex, are going to say, pull out a grinder. And I don't do that. I have two big gripes with the grinder. Number one, it takes off a lot of steel. And number two, you have to be very careful with it. If you're not careful, you're going to ruin your edge, and then you're going to have to grind it back any farther, and then you're running into issues with doing that, or you're going to have to retreat it. And I don't like doing that. It can be done, but I just find it to be slightly irritating. Not to mention, it uses those demon-possessed electrical ropes on the back. Usually I find it faster and more enjoyable to grab a belt sander belt and actually just cut it. This one is 36 grit. Normally I do around 50 or 36 grit, and then I set it out on the bench, or maybe a piece of glass if I'm feeling artsy-fartsy, and I grind the edge. Listen to that sound. Isn't it pretty? If it's not too bad, I actually sometimes use concrete as a fine grinding stone, and it does really well, surprisingly. I've only done 2 or 3 dozen passes on the concrete and sandpaper, and I've gotten rid of the dings. I've got a really big burr on the back though. A lot of people are going to call me ludicrous and crazy for doing that, but honestly, this is what I enjoy, and that's the whole reason I'm in the shop, is for things that I enjoy. I don't enjoy the grinder. I find it to be just annoying. Whereas sandpaper and concrete, I really do enjoy, and rarely does it take much more than 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes at the most if I've got some really serious chips. Then I can come over here to my sharpening station with diamond stones, and I do want to get rid of that burr, but I'm not going to put it in this one. I'm just going to roll that burr over, so I'm going to use my fine stone here, because I don't want to be messing up the flat of this. This was flat at one point, and so it should still be flat, minus the chip I took out of it. Now that I've rolled that burr over onto the other side, we can go through our normal sharpening system. I'm just going to spend a little bit more time on this coarse one, probably only about that much. I've gotten rid of all the scratches from the concrete and sandpaper, and you can see how they're all now uniform and diagonal on there. My burr isn't terribly huge on the back, so I'm just going to go over this one, and rather than going at that 45 degree I had before, I'm actually going to turn, and now we're going to go at 90 degree, and I'm going to change out that scratch pattern. After 5 or 6 strokes on there, you can see the scratch pattern has changed, and you can see I'm hitting back here, but I'm not hitting up at the tip. So that means I need to adjust my grip a little bit. And I'm just going to go until that scratch pattern from the previous plate disappears. Once that's disappeared, we're going to move back onto this one, and I'm going to go back to that 45 degrees so I can see the scratch pattern difference. And that's after the fine stone. That's what I'm looking for. Nice clean edge across there. Now I've got a bit of a burr on there, and I have a video where I actually show the burr coming off under the microscope on these stones. And it's really cool, and I don't want to duplicate it again because it took like 3 or 4 days to actually shoot that video. I'll leave a link to it down in the description, and you can actually see what is happening at the very edge by actually seeing what that burr is doing. And you can feel that burr. In this case, I've got just a tiny little burr that I'm feeling on here. I haven't spent too much time on it, so it's not huge. And so what I want to do is flip it over onto its flat, and I'm going to do a little bit on that, and then I'm going to do a little bit on the bevel. I'm just going to roll that burr back and forth a little bit until now it's time. It's about to fall off. I'm going to cover over to the strop. And on the strop, I'm going to do a couple passes on the bevel, pass on the flat, pass on the bevel, pass on the flat, and I'm just going to go back and forth until the burr falls off. And now, now I've got a sharp edge on there. So I can come over here to this fresh end grain, and let's see what kind of edge we can get off of that. Yeah, it's not too bad. I'll take that. Yeah, that's sharp. It is really sharp. Restoring a chipped and dinged edge isn't a huge deal. It's just going to be, you have to go and spend a little bit more time sharpening. But as long as you don't think about it as, oh no, I have to grind this all off, and think about it as, I'm going to sharpen with a really coarse grit, it's the exact same thing. And so that's why I like to just do something where I'm doing the exact same motion, whether it be on a piece of concrete. I can still get a nice sharp edge. Now I do actually have a video where I sharpen the edge with a concrete block, and I use a concrete block and a strop, and I can get to really, really close to that same edge. And so you don't really need all of this, but it takes a lot more skill to do it with the concrete and a couple other little tricks along the way. So if you want to see that video, I'll leave a link to that down below as well. So next time you damage your edge, don't worry, be happy, and grab a concrete block. Have a little bit of fun. So I hope you like this. If you have any questions, thoughts, ideas, snide remarks, or would like to see other dumb things like this happen in the future, let me know in the comments down below. I do actually read through all those and it helps out the channel. As well as I want to mention all of those people over there. Those are some of the fantastic, wonderful, benevolent, and gorgeous people over on Patreon. Without patrons, we wouldn't be here. Particularly, I have to say a huge thank you to Dyllan Miller. You may notice him over here. He is the new The Man. Honestly, thank you. And I'm going to be making a tool for you. If you ever get that rank on Patreon, I make a tool. So thank you, Dyllan. Thank you for being the man. I think that'll do it for now. And until next time, have a wonderful day. A lot of videos about sharpening are really ethereal and out there and just talking about all sorts of crazy nonsense. Most of the time, I prefer it to be, well, concrete.